you doing? Welcome to Ed's World. Today, we'll be chopping down a tree. The question is, was this tree struck by lightning, or is it infected with a fungus and has died? Or maybe the wind blew it over, or maybe a combination of all of them. We'll find out. Come along with me today, and I'll show you. What we have here is a typical tree. I'm not sure what kind it is, but according to one source, this tree is a weed. It grew from nothing, and as you can tell, it kind of grew at an angle. But notice how it has pulled itself apart, right in the middle. Yeah, that's pretty tough there. What we've established it could be with this charring here. You see there, and at the bottom of the base of the tree, there is some more discoloration. This could be one of two things. Either a lightning strike busted this thing through, or it's just a fungus. Well, we've established that this tree has been caused by a fungus. As you can see, a lightning strike would char on the surface, but under the surface, it's still dark right in this area here. That is a very good telltale sign that this is a fungus. And also, the blackened parts appear to the parts of this tree. For example, right here on this seam, you notice we have more black here, and other parts of the tree have some blackening to them, which is a common bacteria or fungus which could weaken the bark of the tree and blow it apart. However, one thing strikes me: this tree is still alive. It's very green on the limbs. I've already started trimming it a little bit, as you'll see right here. And the wood, very green, very soft, very pliable. So this tree very well could have been struck by lightning or blown over by wind. This is a very heavy branch, and this one, when it was together, would stand up right about where this area was. And it stood a lot taller than this branch of the tree. So if it blew in the wind too much, it could have pulled itself apart. With this rotting, though, I would say it was already weakened enough to where it would pull itself apart. So having said that, I think the logical conclusion, I said collusion. Can we do that again? Okay. The logical conclusion of this is that the whole tree needs to come out because it's dying. I'll save that for another day. Today, the project is going to be to cut this tree down, this limb, so that people won't bump their heads every time they walk into the front door. Like so. Whoa. Here's a tip for you. Whenever you're chopping down a tree, never use your own chainsaw. Always borrow an in-law's. That way, when you use the chain up and make it dull, you can give it back to him, and then he'll have to buy a new chain. Let's get this baby going. When removing a tree, you always have a few options of what kind of tools to do the job. There's always the hand method. Rather tedious and a lot of work. You can saw through a tree with minimal noise, but it usually takes quite a long time. Next option, very common, the chainsaw. Chainsaw comes in two varieties, gas or electric, and it can be used fairly quickly. One drawback to using a chainsaw is the amount of noise for a long period of time. In that case, if you're not quite sure which one you want to use, there's always classic Molotov cocktail Only problem with this, in Arizona there tends to be quite a fire hazard and it burns for quite a while. So we don't need that. So that leaves the old faithful dynamite, which is very loud, but only for a split second. The only drawback to dynamite is the cleanup. So with all these choices, I think we're going to use the one that I suggested earlier, mainly for the reason I suggested earlier. Belongs to the in-laws. Brother-in-law, specifically. Thanks, Brian. Okay, we're just about ready. A few things you should always remember when you're about to use a chainsaw to chop wood. You should always have ear protection. You can buy these for really cheap at Walmart and they flip right in your ears, just like so. Also, you need to make sure you have proper eye protection. That way, you can't lose an eye from a piece of the tree flying off from the chainsaw. Also, it's good to have a towel around if you get sweaty, especially in this kind of heat. And speaking of heat, make sure you always have lots of water on hand. That way, you won't dehydrate and everything will be all right. Now, I'm going to get my chainsaw plugged in, and we're going to be ready to go. Oh, God! Whenever you have a tree that's still hanging like this, it's always good to start with the smaller limbs first and make your way back to the base. That way, it won't fall and damage any furniture or other trees around it, and slowly you'll take pressure off the tree trunk, which will be easier to cut later. I forgot to mention gloves. Gloves are very important too. Keep your hands from getting shaken too much by the vibrations of the chainsaw. It also protects your hands from anything else, flying bits of wood and things like that. So it's always important to wear a good pair of gloves while you're chainsawing. And always take a lot of breaks too while you're chopping, especially in Arizona heat. Right now the temperature is about 96 degrees and there's a lot of humidity because it's monsoon season. So, I'll make sure I keep myself well hydrated. Oh God, not again! Now we're at the home stretch. Chain came off. You gotta be careful of that sometimes. Sometimes runaway branches will take your chain with you. Now's a good time to take a break anyway. It's very important not to overexert yourself while you're working, especially in extreme heat. So, it's good enough time for a water break as any. I almost did it again. Jeez, you think I'll never learn? Nasty. Gasoline. Okay, a chainsaw chain replacement is a fairly easy task. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, at least for this model. Some models use Allen wrenches or flathead screwdrivers, and of course you'll need a wrench. Before beginning any kind of chainsaw project on electric, make sure you always unplug it to minimize certain finger lossage. You remove the 4 screws, 3 screws, 1, 2, 3 there, and then you continue. When your cover is off, go ahead and clean out as much as you can of the sawdust that's been going in there. You'll get a lot of gunk when you're working on a green tree such as this one. It hasn't completely died and dried out yet. Look at all that right there. Now, make sure you loosen one or both of these screws, enough to give you some play to pull the chain back and put the chain on. We'll do that right now. Very important to remember that on a chainsaw, the motor always moves this way, with the chain pulling towards you. That way, on your chain, so when you get your chain ready to put on your chainsaw blade, you have the underside. This is the part that grabs your motor. And you have your chopping side. This part right here. On the chopping side there is a flat edge and a sharp jagged edge. That sharp edge is the sharp that you want coming towards you so that that tree gets cut. So if you look, the flat edge, the duller edge, is squared off, and the sharper, choppier edge is more of a diagonal shape. Once you got the chain on, make sure you get the bolts good and tight so that the chain doesn't loosen too much and fall off again. And also make sure that you have it on the right way. With on the bottom, as you can see, the diagonal edges are facing inwards, facing in, so that all the chopping goes in the right direction. Finally, put your cover back on. There we go, and now you're ready to plug back in and get back to the tree. Simple as that. Okay, so I got all my safety equipment back on. I got my goggles on, my gloves, and my ears. What am I forgetting? What? Hold on. What? Right, we need water. It's not that bad, actually. yourself a split, it's always better to cut from the outside in and cut up at an angle so you can minimize the bark damage if this side of the tree actually survives, which it will. Kind of low, so I'm going to cut it in half right here and see how much more I have left. Now, the final step is to treat the wood with some pesticide to keep a lot of the bugs out of getting it. And it's always good to put a little bit of spray paint on there if you have it to confuse the bugs and keep them from coming into the tree. You can buy this kind of pesticide called Home Defense. It's good for indoor and outdoor. Don't use it indoor if you have pets though. And it's very effective as far as getting the bugs away. I'm going to apply it very heavily on the part of the tree I just cut because that's the softest wood, and that's going to be the most affected. Now I also want to put a large amount of it around the base of the tree. Kind of keep keep ants out of it. And speaking of ants, it's all a bunch up here. So I'm going to put my limb. Looks like we might get a little bit of rain tonight, so I'll wash that off, but usually if the wood soaks it in, it's going to be okay. It's always good once a year, twice a year, to go around your entire house with this and spray around all the cracks on the outside at least to keep cockroaches and crickets out. That's what I'm going to do next. But you guys are going to go back to having fun. I bet you can't even see my face. There we go. You guys are going to go back to having fun, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Love you so much. Thanks for tuning in today to the Ed Show. Cheers. Relax, it's just water. I wouldn't really put gasoline in here. I mean, I could blow up any second.